The good fight. Have you ever wondered what defines the good fight? Hello, my friend. I'm very happy to see you here today because we have gathered here in the name of Jesus Christ. Glory be to God. He's alive. He's alive. The good fight. What defines the good fight? And as according to the Bible, right? Fight the good fight. And what does that mean? Is there anything left in this life worthy of a fight? You know, my 25-year-old son seems to believe that the only thing worthy of fighting for is a fantasy created by a video game. And there are millions of children and people and young adults who believe that. The only thing worth fighting for is the fantasy hidden in a video game. It's a complete delusion and a separation from reality. And God will send to us a strong delusion for us to believe in. And that will be the only thing we will be able to believe in, is the delusion. That's what a fantasy is. It is a creation created by our own mind by the power of a delusion. And the deception is believing that is worth fighting for. And this world, guys, that we live in, I don't blame my son. I myself struggle to love any part of this world. I'm not of this world. And the harder I try to love or find love within this world, it's absent of me. I have no ability to love this world. And I know people who believe, you're negative. You're very negative. And every time I try to talk to you, you seem to be very negative. And yet, what creates the negativity within me is what defines the good fight. What if you were the one? What if you were the one who nobody in this world gave you any value? What if you were the one whom this world had said, we believe, I believe, you believe that you're not worth the fight. Nobody's perfect. Everybody, don't lie to me, everybody makes mistakes. We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And yet, we say to ourselves, by the power of the delusion, I will fight for Mr. Perfect. I will fight for Miss Perfect. There's things we're willing to fight for, but those things are created by the power of a fantasy. And our delusion is believing that the fantasy is worth fighting for. And we have removed ourselves from all reality. And the reality is no one is perfect. The reality is everyone makes mistakes. Are you willing to fight for the imperfect? Are you willing to fight for those who make mistakes? I mean, this is reality. As according to the Bible, Jesus Christ was perfect, and there was nothing more perfect than him. He was blameless, void of sin, void of wrong, void of mistakes, and yet the world declared he wasn't worth the fight. He came into the world to be anointed as king, a king. Pilate asked Jesus, what's the truth? And everyone who hears my voice hears the truth. They say you are the king of the Jews. You said that. You said that. If my kingdom were of this world, the subjects of my kingdom, the people of my kingdom, they would fight for me. They would have fought for me to not be handed over to the Jews. What's worthy of a fight? Of any kind of a fight, an argument, a disagreement. I have met people, and maybe you're one of them. I have met people who said, a drug dealer is worthy of the fight. A person addicted to drugs is worthy of the fight, and they are so worthy of the fight, I'm willing to give up my life for that person and that person's well-being. I'll give up 5 years of my life for that. That's how worthy of a fight I see you're in, or see your worth. I'll give up 5 years for that. 5 years of my life being with my children. 5 years of my life being with my mother, who is ultimately dying. I'll give up my joy and my happiness to fight for your right to joy and happiness, your right to feel loved. The people will be willing to give up their lives for crazy things. My son is willing to give up his life, his joy, his happiness, his reality for a delusion, a fantasy hidden inside of a video game. It's insane. It's insanity. And how would you feel to know that you were the one only person on earth nobody was willing to fight for? And you dedicated your life to spreading love, spreading honesty and truth, trying everything you can to love a world that you absolutely despised. I despise how the government is being ran. It makes me sick. I despise the fact that the same people who are walking around in our streets, in our towns, covered in armor, battle armor, covered in guns, covered in brutality, are the people sending fear into our communities. If you want something to be afraid of, you better be afraid of me. And yet those people say you shouldn't have guns. You shouldn't have the ability to fight for what you think is right. I don't see a bunch of people walking through town scaring everybody, dressed in armor and weapons of war, except for a certain group of people. And you know, nothing's changed. Jesus was confronted with the same things. You come to me with sticks and clubs in the middle of the night. And yet I was there each and every day in the temple, in the synagogues, preaching and teaching to you the gospel of love. That's the gospel, you know. The gospel that we find within the Bible is, the good news is God is love. Love God with everything you have, your heart, your mind, your soul, and all your strength. God is love. Love God. Love each other. Love each other in the same way you would love yourself. Love God, love each other, love yourself. And how would you feel if you knew that message wasn't worth fighting for? I'll fight for anything. I'll fight for a woman's right to vote. I'll fight for a woman's right to murder her own child. I'll fight for freedom of choice. I'll fight for your right to say no. But you yourself aren't worth the fight at all. And I've been confronted with that over and over and over throughout my whole life. And maybe that's in order to fulfill the scriptures that were written about us. Not just the scriptures that were written about Jesus, but about us who have placed our trust and our faith in Jesus Christ, our trust and our faith in love, a God who loves, a people who loves others and loves themselves. Putting trust and faith in that makes us the dung of the world. And then we're supposed to say, hey, I just can't find no negativity in that. I've met people, and maybe you're one of them, that have said, and it's like, why do you say it? Where does it come from if it's not coming from a place or a desire to hurt someone, maybe to hurt me? Yeah, I really wanted to see you. I really wanted to meet you in person. But because of your problems, I decided it wasn't worth the fight. So I said, never mind, forget it. And for me to receive a message like that is, you didn't even have to say. You could have just kept it to yourself and just, hey, I had intentions of doing something, but then I decided not against it. And I could have kept that to myself, but I wanted you to know. I wanted you to know. You're not worth the fight. Thank you. Thank you. What is the good fight and what is it worth? What's most important in our lives? What's most important in your life? What's important to you? What's important? When I think of what's important, well, one, the most important thing in my life is God, who is love. I don't think we would know or recognize or understand love if there was no God. So love is most important. Second thing that's most important to me in my life is finding some way to love other people, to love others, to be able to, find love within my own son who has decided there's only one thing worth fighting for. And that's the delusion I found in my fantasy. This thing called a video game. And I'll do anything to stay in it, to grab hold of it, and to keep it mine. It's worth the fight. And evidence that it's worth the fight when you say, hey, there's a whole world out here, there's a whole life out here, let's be a part of it. And nope. And I'll argue with you. I will speak with words worthy of a fight in order to hang on to that delusion. And for me, I say that's mental illness. Your mind is broken, and it's stewing in insanity. It's absurd. It's not sound thinking. But addiction comes to us in many forms. It comes to us in many forms. Another thing that's very important to me is finding a way to love myself while the people in this world say you're not worthy of it. I mean, it is extremely tough. Preachers and pastors and teachers and believers and people of the world to say, you know, I got something. And what I got is something that's unseen, cannot be heard, cannot be touched. Faith in an invisible God. I mean, how do we love something invisible? How do we love something unseen? I've never seen it. How do we love something never heard? I've never heard it. How do we love something that I can't put my hands on? How do we do that? Especially living in a world that says you're not worth the fight. And I think that's one of the things that's so amazing about the story of Jesus Christ. We didn't see it. Wasn't there listening to it. Wasn't one of those people who was able to reach out and touch his garment. But what do I know? What has become a reality? That when I saw something worth fighting for, I was rejected. Hey, don't be doing that. When I made a mistake, people wanted to use that against me as a weapon. And I found myself in a place on my knees in a room void of humanity, human beings. There was nobody there to pick me up. So that's what draws me into Jesus Christ. Right? Nobody says to the homeless man, hey, you're worth the fight. Nobody says to the guy dressed in farmer clothes, hey, you're worth the fight. Many things we see as being worthy of a fight, but there are, seems like the most important things we have declared as being unworthy of the fight. I mean, there's Jesus Christ, and he's there with his buddies. He's there with his students, his disciples, people who had been with him and following him for years, sleeping with him, eating with him, traveling the countryside with him. They wanted to hear and to be a part of all of his teachings. But when he needed them most, they were found sleeping. Hey, guys, I just want to pray for a little while. Right? They're in Gethsemane, and Jesus got his buddies, and I just want to pray for a while. Look out after me. Look out for me. Right? Protect me. And so he goes over and he begins to pray and comes back, and within 1 hour they're all sleeping. You're not worth the fight. Hey, wake up. Tension. Right? Gets them all awake, and they're all there. Stay awake. Stay awake. I'm praying for you. I'm praying that you don't fall into temptation. Stay awake. Satan asked for you. And he has to toss you in the wind like the chaff that's being separated from the wheat. But I prayed for your faith not to fail. I prayed for you. Only stay awake. Keep your eyes open for me. Right? I'm going to pray. I'll be right back. And again, goes and prays and returns, and they're asleep. Not worth the fight. Sleeping. Could you not stay awake 1 hour? And many of them, right? Peter, all of them said it, but Peter was noted to be the first to say it. Lord, I'm willing to go with you into prison. Lord, I'm willing to die for you today. Well, you're willing with words, but by the power of action, the truth is you're going to deny me. You're going to deny me not once, not twice, but 3 times. And you're going to do everything within your own power to fulfill the scriptures. See, the only way you can be saved is through me. The only way you're going to find salvation is through me. The only way you're going to find strength is going to come through me. And absent of me, the best you can do is sleep. Reject, deny, and believe in a delusion. That's the best you can do without me. But I came to fulfill the scriptures, to prove to you I alone am enough. We're all seeking for a better life. Everybody, me included. I every day, and I don't know, maybe it comes to us through the power of media, television, commercials, right? You can't enjoy life till you buy my product. And we all desire a better life, no matter where we are in life. We desire a better life. If we're living in Africa in a mud hut, we have no clothing or shoes, eating goat guts for dinner, We want a better life. If we're living in the United States of America and we have access to everything, we still want a better life. And where does this desire come from to want a better life? What is it that's within our lives that we are void of? What creates the desire to want better? And why is it not good now? Why do we need better? I wonder if it's not evidence that the punishment of God is setting on us. That we're not carrying around the punishment of God, because the punishment of God is being found in a state of wantonness. Always wanting. Never being content. We want more. We want better. And maybe it's because the things that should be most important to us has escaped us. Love. Has escaped us. I mean, when we think about it, I could have the gift of speaking tongues and speaking in many languages, even angelic languages, which nobody is approved to understand. But if I don't have love, I'm just a noisy cymbal. If I had the power to prophesy and to speak the word of God and to manifest miracles in people's lives, but I didn't have love, I would have gained nothing. If I had faith so strong that I was able to walk through the fires of hell and yet not be consumed, but was void of love, it would have been done for nothing. Even if I had such great conviction and a desire to sacrifice my own body, my own life for somebody else, but didn't have love, my sacrifice would be done in vain. If I was so wise and smart that I knew all the mysteries of the entire universe, and I could unveil to you all the mysteries of your own problems, but if I don't have love, it means nothing. Because love never fails. And love is the greatest gift on earth, and anybody who has been void or has no one to love, void of love, is completely bankrupt. And how could anyone ever say or see, why are you so negative? Every time I talk to you, nothing but negativity comes out. Well, one, I'm honest and I'm telling you the truth, and I wish you could hear the truth. Stop trying to justify your own actions and just listen to the truth. A person void of love is bankrupt. And how do you know somebody is void of love? How would you know? How would you recognize that someone is void of love? They're not worth the fight. They're not worth the fight. Jesus Christ came into this world to find love. And the world said, we don't want you. We reject you. You know, you're at best a homeless person. I mean, your feet stink so bad, we're not even going to untie your shoes. Get back. I won't wash you. I won't touch you. I don't want nothing to do with you. You're not worth the fight. Here's Jesus Christ in the world, and are you a king? Well, you said so. It's for that reason I was born. I came into this world to be anointed as a king. But my kingdom is not of this world. Because if there was people here who were a part of my kingdom, who were the subjects of my kingdom, they would have fought for me. But I'm not worth the fight because I'm not of this world. You guys said I was the king of the Jews. But I'm telling you, I am the Christ. Says the Lord. I'm speaking of Jesus, the Son of the living God. You know, everything they did to fulfill the scriptures. You said so. Your actions proved it so. I did nothing but came here looking for love. And I came into a world that was completely void of love. God is love. And he came into the world. And he saw a cesspool of darkness. And all of it was dark. So he said, let there be light. Jesus, being the light of the world, I came into the world to shine a great light in the midst of darkness, a place void of love, by being everything you're not. Yeah, you said I'm not worth fighting for, but I fought for you. I gave up my life for you. There's nothing, no higher form of love. This is the highest form of love. And there's nothing above it that a person would be willing to give up their life for the well-being of their friends. That's what defines love. The love of God. So when somebody comes to me and says, you know, my intentions were to come and visit you. My intentions were to come and meet you. But in the midst of the fight, I decided you're not worth it. And so I held back. Jesus didn't hold back. He gave himself up, not for the perfect, but for the imperfect. Not for the guy who doesn't make mistakes. I mean, these people all made a mistake. The only crime they could find in Jesus Christ was his desire to love you. Came to give it up for the ungodly and the sick and the blind and the deaf. It wasn't your willingness to fight for me that brought me here. It was my willingness to fight for you that brought me here. I gave up my life for you. I gave up my career to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. I gave up everything. And as Jesus said, did you go without? No, I haven't gone without. And in fact, I have increased. I went from being an uneducated, ignorant man to a man living in his own church. I have the ability to do one thing. I have the strength to do one thing. I have the finances to be able to do one thing. Bring to you the gospel of truth. The gospel of Jesus Christ, which is God's love for you. It's enough. It's enough. What's most important? The things that are most important to us are the things we're willing to fight for, the things we're willing to lay down our lives for. That's what's most important to us. And yet Jesus says, you were very important to me. I've had friends where I've spoke to them over the past 2 years. And yet 90% of my messages, 90% of whatever it is I have put out has been received in the minimal way, like, why are you bothering me? Didn't you know? I don't believe you're worth the fight. I don't understand why you're bothering me. Because I saw you as worthy of the fight. And at what point do we stop fighting? When do you say, I give up? You're not worth the battle. Because I know what it's like to be the person who has been told you're not worth the battle, and that hurts. It hurts. And in many ways, I know what it's like to be Jesus Christ. I know what it's like to be rejected. I know what it's like to be ignored. I know what it's like. And it hurts. It hurts. It hurts more than anything else in the world. Because if I had love, tangible love, a love you could see, a love you could hear, a love you could touch, if I had those things, I don't think I would have a desire to want anything else. Because those are the things that pull me out of my bankruptcy. What's it mean? What defines bankruptcy? A person void of love. That's what defines it. Here's Jesus, God, standing over a place of utter darkness, a mass of nothingness. It was void of everything. I know, you say, no, it's about the love pouring out of me that makes me successful. Now. Here's the cesspool of nothingness, void of everything, void of love. And God said, let there be light. And what did we see? Jesus Christ looking at me. Jesus Christ with his arms wide open. Jesus Christ crying out to us. My God, why have you forsaken me? Love makes a person complete. Love makes life good. Fight the good fight. What if the world was void of Jesus Christ? And Christ is to be alive within us. So Jesus is praying. And his disciples are sitting there sleeping. I pray, Father, that these people would come to know you. Not only would they come to know you, but they would come to know that you love them just as you loved me. And that your desire is to be in them just as you're in me. And I in you. And you in them. What's worthy of the good fight. What is important to you? When the Lord is my shepherd, I have no want. I have everything I need. When the Lord is my shepherd, I am being led, not into temptation, but into a place of abundance, a place of green pastures, quietly flowing streams of water. Because the Lord is with me, I am able to walk through the valleys of the shadows of death. Because the Lord is with me, I'm able to stand in the face of evil and not be afraid. Because God is with me, my steps are guided into paths of righteousness. His rod and his staff, they comfort me. Surely we shall live in the house of God forever. Surely we will live in the house of God forever. And God is with us. We have everything we need. Do you believe you're worth the fight?